Minister Ong.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I thank all the members who have spoken on the bill and voiced their support for the bill. On behalf of the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister in charge of the MAS, let me now address their questions. Mr. Satyandi is concerned that cost of higher premium contributions may be passed on to customers. MAS had considered the potential cost implications on scheme members when proposing these changes. The premium increase of 1 basis point to the banks as scheme members is not material relative to a bank's overall operating costs. To illustrate, the increases in costs for the 3 local banks, which are the largest scheme members, will be less than 0.1% of their operating costs on average. We do not expect the scheme members to pass these costs to consumers. Mr. Satyandi also asked who would bear the additional cost for extending the coverage of the Policy Owners Protection Scheme to cover the personal properties used for commercial purposes, and if this would result in the rise of premiums. The current annual contributions paid by the scheme members makes up less than 0.2% of the total gross premiums written by the general insurance industry for insurance policies covered under the scheme. The extension of coverage of the scheme accounts for a small fraction of the 0.2%. Hence, the increase in contributions paid by the scheme members will also not be material. We do not expect scheme members to pass the cost to policy owners. Mr. Satyandi also highlighted the importance of educating the public on the coverage of the schemes. I agree with Mr. Satyandi. Proper awareness of the coverage of the schemes will help depositors and policy owners to make informed financial decisions. SDIC has in place a public education program already, and we will take Mr. Satyandi's suggestions in future efforts. SDIC and MAS will continue to work together to raise awareness of the changes to the scheme. Mr. Leon Pereira asked several questions. First, he asked how promptly can we expect compensatory payments to be made. SDIC aims to make payouts to most insured depositors within 7 working days, in line with international standards, and has relevant mechanisms and procedures in place to facilitate this. Mr. Pereira also asked how the DI-PPF fund monies are managed. The fund monies are managed by SDIC, the administrator of the schemes and funds. The management of the funds is circumscribed by the DI-PPF Act. And under the Act, the fund may only be invested in safe assets, such as securities issued by the government or MAS, deposits with MAS, or such other investments with the objects of capital preservation and maintenance of liquidity. The management of the funds are not outsourced. The SDIC board therefore oversees the management of the funds directly. It has established an investment policy for the funds covering investment philosophy and objective, permitted investments and markets, authority limits, and asset allocation guidelines. The procedures, internal controls, and disclosure and reporting of investment holdings are audited by a public accounting firm annually, and this is in accordance with the requirements of the DI-PPF Act and the Singapore Financial Reporting Standards. Mr. Pereira also asked what kind of insurers are exempted from being PPF members. Actually, all licensed direct life and general insurers are by default PPF scheme members, except for captive insurers and certain insurers that write very specialist risks. So licensed direct insurers that do not write any of the insurance policies that are covered under the PPF scheme can seek exemption from being PPF scheme members. Mr. Ijia Singh suggested that a central repository be set up to assist the deceased next of kin and beneficiaries to find out what life insurance policies and bank accounts the deceased had. The question is not quite related to the bill, but notwithstanding, there's currently a process in place for the next of kin to find and claim the assets of a family member who has passed on. Depending on whether the deceased has made a will, the next of kin may apply to the court for a grant of probate or letters of administration. Once the grant or letter is issued, the next of kin may bring the grant or letter to the banks and life insurance companies to find out if there are monies or assets belonging to the deceased. A central repository could offer the prospect of a convenient one-stop shop. However, a central repository works best if it is provided with up-to-date information and there is universal participation by the financial institutions, depositors, and policy owners. There could be privacy concerns if participation in the repository is made mandatory. A central repository also does not eliminate the need for the next of kin to gather supporting documents to prove their claim to the estate. Nonetheless, Mr. Yee's proposal highlights the importance of Singaporeans keeping their family and loved ones informed of their financial arrangements. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, this bill introduces important enhancements to the deposit insurance and policy owners protection schemes in Singapore, which will strengthen protection for depositors and policy owners. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I beg to move.
Mr. Leon Pereira.
I thank the Minister for his responses. I just had two questions I believe had not been addressed yet, unless I missed it. Firstly, is the ability of the DI and POP funds to meet their obligations in respect of the coverage limits regularly reviewed or stress tested, either by MAS or required of MAS to be self-tested or self-stress tested by the SDIC? And secondly, there was a change made in terms of the accounts of the SDIC need not be audited by the AGO or an agency appointed in consultation with the AGO. So I just wanted to know why that change was made. Thank you.
On stress testing, because the investment policy is a conservative one targeted at preservation of principal, therefore no stress testing is actually required because it actually requires capital preservation. Second, on AGO, because SDIC is a company, and therefore under the company and accordance to the Act, it's a public accounting firm that audited rather than the AGO, which audit government agencies.
The question is that the bill be now read a second time. As many as are of that opinion, say aye. Aye. To the contrary, say no. I think the ayes have it. Ayes have it.
Deposit Insurance and Policy Owners Protection Schemes Amendment Bill.
Committee stage what day?
Now, sir, I beg to move that Parliament will immediately resolve itself into a committee on the bill.
The question is that Parliament will immediately resolve itself into a committee on the bill. As many as are of that opinion, say aye. Aye. To the contrary, say no. I think the ayes have it. Ayes have it. The question is that clauses 1 to 39 stand part of the bill. As many as are of that opinion, say aye. To the contrary, say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Bill to be reported. Minister.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, I beg to report that the bill has been considered in committee and agreed to without amendment.
Third reading what day?
Now, sir, I beg to move that the bill be now read a third time.
The question is that the bill be now read a third time. As many as are of that opinion, say aye. Aye. To the contrary, say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it.
Deposit Insurance and Policy Owners Protection Schemes Amendment Bill.